promised, I am going to do a video on elemental magic, and I guess this starts my series, Advanced World Building. When I finished Worldbuilding 101, I think I mentioned at some point I would do an Advanced World Building series, and so here we go. I'm sorry if the lighting is weird. I keep trying different things, and the lighting in this room is really weird. And if you can hear that, that's a cat scratching at the door. So, the 4 elements:
water, earth, fire, air,
are based on the ancient Greeks' 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So, on the surface, these elements are generally exactly what they sound like. Soil and rocks for earth, wind for air, liquid water, and then fire is just fire. But we can expand upon these, and they have been expanded upon in many books, movies, and video games and TV shows. But I want to dig a little deeper than that. So with earth, you already have, a few story shows or whatever who have added metal to this. You can manipulate metal, but also lava, crystals, sand, which Avatar: The Last Airbender also touched on. What did I say? Lava, crystals, gems, and magnets. Think about it, like, earth element is so underrated because you can have like Toph and Magneto in the same character. You could even combine the powers of earth and fire to include the manipulation of glass. Air is often depicted as wind and flying. You can also think of manipulating air as manipulating air molecules, which would give your air elementalist character the power of sound. And what about lightning? My favorite magical ability. It seems that people like to group lightning as either A, its own thing, or B, it's labeled as stronger fire. But what if I told you an air elementalist could add so much energy into the air that it becomes charged, it becomes plasma, and boom, lightning happens. More on that in a bit. So, moving on to fire. Fire is super fast oxidation resulting in light and heat. That's a super simplified definition, but this is already kind of turning into a physics class. I'm sorry. And I think this is why lightning is considered to be stronger fire ability, as in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean, it makes sense. But if we're going to be following this logic, we could maybe label this element as energy instead of fire. So I ended up asking my former high school teacher for some help when I was writing these notes, and I also asked a friend of mine who is also a science teacher when I was writing down notes for these, just to further break it down. Either way, if your character has lightning powers, I will probably stand them forever because I love me some lightning powers. Alright, so now we're going to talk about electrons for just a tiny little bit. So if your character's ability is pretty much just electricity, not specifically lightning, but electricity as a whole, then your character's ability is just the manipulation of the flow of electrons. On the other hand, lightning is a plasma, and what a loud cough. Anyway, lightning is a plasma. Plasma is the fourth state of matter. It is the highest state of matter, and this occurs when the electrons are stripped and flying atom to atom. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to use lightning as an element, I think you can maybe make the case for grouping lightning with air, grouping lightning with fire, and grouping lightning as maybe a thing by itself. Well, not a thing by itself, but grouping it under electricity. But it's all energy. And lastly, we have water, which is pretty easy. You have liquid water, ice, and steam. Although a big pet peeve of mine is grouping ice or frost as its own element. Like, why, Final Fantasy? Why? But water is literally everywhere. Just as, say, in the movie, Magneto manipulated a man using the iron in his blood, Katara manipulated a woman using the water in her blood. She also manipulated sweat. Now, manipulating water, steam, ice as it is one thing. Changing them from one state of matter to the other is another thing entirely. This means your water elementalist has the power to chill or heat the air, that is, to add or subtract energy. It all comes back to energy. The deeper I delve into this, the less sense it makes to divide up elements like this. What have I done? Have I ruined elemental magic for myself? Or have I just made it more interesting for myself? Anyway, on to combinations. You could combine the powers of water and earth to include the manipulation of plants. Now, this isn't really something I read in a book. This isn't something that I saw on TV or in a movie or in a video game. This is something that came from my brain. I'm sure other people have thought of it at some point in time as well. But this is something that I was thinking about when you have people who manipulate plants in a world where people manipulate elements. And I thought, well, plants are earth and there's water in them. And plants need both earth and water. You probably need to be manipulating both earth and water to manipulate plants. You could also combine the powers of water and air to create hurricanes, storms, thunderstorms, heavy rains, things like that. But, I mean, arguably, you could just do that with air because the clouds already have water in them, but it might be easier if you control air and water. Magic is complicated. And that's just earth, air, fire, and water. There are also other elements that people like to include in their works, like time, void, light, space, darkness, shadow, telekinesis and telepathy, poison. Did I already say poison? People like to treat poison as an element sometimes. So I'm going to end this video here, and next time I'm going to, I guess, make a part 2 and talk about those extra elements. So thank you for joining me in this video of me being a crazy ranting woman talking about magic and science. I hope to see you guys next time, and I really hope that I'm able to continue to film while I'm in this weird transitional spot in my life. So until next time, super ultra shout out to LCT-Comics and Casian Holly, and well, see you guys next time. Bye.